Hello, this is Keith George, the STEM specialist for Madison County Schools, and this is a quick little introduction overview to a new template that is available for Madison County teachers. It's the grade level common data analysis spreadsheet, and it will allow you to have multiple teachers enter in data for their students and have all of that data be combined into a single view for the grade level. So we're going to go ahead and get our template open. So there's a couple of ways to do it. You can just go to sheets.com, sheets.google.com, or if you're already in your drive, if you go to New, Google Sheets, and select From a Template. And if you go from a template, currently the only template in the gallery for Madison County is the grade level common data analysis sheet. So we're going to click on that, and that's going to open up for us. And so if you take a look, you're going to see that you have, as it finally loads, you're going to see that you have several tabs across the bottom. And right now we're open on the instruction sheet, and here's the instruction sheet, and there's some quick little setup instructions. The first one says to enter your indicators in the CFA tab, and that's actually going to be way over here. So we're going to go to our CFA indicators, and remember, these can be anything that you want to measure. The only thing to remember is to just enter them in row 1 across as far as you need to, and don't do anything else on this sheet. This is just to collect the headings that you're going to use, that you're going to measure. And then if we jump back to the instruction sheet, we'll see that after we have done our CFA, it tells us if we have more than 3 teachers, we can complete the steps in adding teachers below, which we're going to just assume we only have 3 for right now. There's a different video available for adding teachers that you can watch. But if we only have 3 and we have sheets for them all, the next thing is to enter the student names in the role sheet for each teacher. So if you come down here and you see there's a teacher 1 role, teacher 2 role, and teacher 3 role. And all you have to do is come in here and enter in the names of your students. Now we have this set up automatically to give us a full name. So you actually only enter the names in the first 2 columns. So for instance, if I delete this temporarily, and it's going to make those disappear because they're calculated, but if I now do George Washington, you'll see that it automatically populates the full name for me. So the first teacher will just enter their student names first and last in columns A and B. Okay, so after each teacher has done that and entered their roles in, let me go back and just get all of that original data back so we can see a good picture. And then if we jump back to the instruction sheet, after we have our student names into the role sheet, and actually one thing we could do now is we can actually hide those teacher role sheets so that it's a little bit easier to see things. I can say hide sheet, and I can do that with all 3 of my teacher roles because we're not going to need those again unless we ever need to add additional students. So that'll make things a little bit less cumbersome down here at the bottom. But back on our instructions, the next step is to, after student names are entered in the roll sheet, you can hide the sheet, and that's what we just did, so you can hide that. Now it's time to enter data. So you're going to enter your data, each teacher, into their own teacher sheet. Now you can actually rename these tabs if you would like, and just change it to perhaps the teacher name and then data. So you could do Smith data, Jones data, whatever, or you can just leave it as teacher 1, 2, and 3, and each teacher just remembers which tab is theirs. But once you go into one of the data sheets, you see that we have, this is a kindergarten example, so one of the things that they want to measure is the students that can count objects to 5, and if the students could actually count higher than that, they want to track how high they can go. And there's no data here, but same thing to 25 eventually. And then this is letter recognition. So they can recognize the letter C, and they can recognize it appropriately. Now, one thing to notice is these CFA indicators, just to show you what's happening. If I go to CFA indicators here, and I change this to I can count to 5. If I wanted to call it that, when I go back to teacher data, notice that's where it's pulling it from. I don't have to type these at the top. So you also don't want to try to change these on any of the sheets except CFA indicators. So I'm going to put that back to the way it was. And now when I go to teacher data, it's back to count objects to 5. So on my teacher data sheet, I just come in and enter my data. Now, obviously, there's sample data here that you get rid of first, but I can just come in and enter data on how high my students can count. And maybe I have a go-getter there, and I can enter this data for my kids, and it just goes down that sheet. Now, once each teacher enters their data into the sheet, we'll do another one real quick. And again, I'm using random data just to give you examples. Just finish that out. So once each teacher has entered their data, and by the way, on these letters recognition, you notice it's a drop down of yes, no, and that's all it will let you put in there. Once they have each entered their data, just for their kids, if we come over here to final results, we're going to see that all of the kids are showing in alphabetical order as one large group. So if I was to go into teacher data and I would change Sally Ride to Betsy Ross, just that quickly, if I go back to final results, Betsy Ross is there with the data that's entered for her. And again, these headers are our CFA indicators that are automatically pulled from this other tab. Now, the cumulative data unsorted tab, actually for most, we could go ahead and hide this because that's just kind of an in-between place to run some formulas and some functions. There are several places where you'll get this message that will tell you that you're trying to edit part that shouldn't be changed accidentally. For the most part, you're never going to need to change any of these unless you have more than 3 teachers. And that would be the only time you would ever do anything, and there's a separate video that walks you through that process. So we could hide that cumulative data sheet that's unsorted as well. So now we've got our final results. And now when we are actually on our way, and of course you could hide CFA as well. So if we hide that sheet, now we've got just a sheet for each of our teachers and our final cumulative results. And there's another video on data validation and conditional formatting, a couple of others in the 2-Minute Tech Tips series that I'll link to here that show you how to do some of the color formatting and things like that. Now, since we hit all those sheets, what happens if you do need one of them back to perhaps add a new student? Well, just come over here to your stacked lines, click on all sheet, and let's say that teacher 3 got a new student. We'll click teacher 3. They come here. They insert a new line, a new row below, and they add a new student. Let's see, this is my famous actresses and actresses. So we'll do Jennifer Aniston, and it will automatically, if it doesn't automatically populate, that just needs the formula copied. You can just grab the formula above and copy down, and it will fill that in. And now if we go to final results and we look, there is going to be it will add Jennifer automatically here. The reason you're not seeing her right now is it looks like we've got one thing to fix, and I actually will fix that here shortly. So I'm going to pause. So once I add Jennifer there, the next thing I need to do is go to the same teacher data sheet. And so once I add Jennifer there, I then need to go to my teacher data sheet and make sure that I have enough room, enough rows for that new student. So I'm going to click at the bottom. I'm going to insert a row below, and I still don't see the name, but that's because I've got to tell the spreadsheet to add it. So I'm just going to select those first two columns and grab my handle and drag down. That's going to copy the formula, and you see that Jennifer automatically gets added. Now when I jump over to final results, you'll see that Jennifer already shows up just that quickly. So again, this is the grade level common data analysis sheet. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can email me at kgeorge@mcssk12.org, or you can find me on Twitter at Big Tech Coach. Thanks.